In this video, we'll talk about the #1 reason why you might be confusing people, even though technically you might be saying the correct sounds. And specifically, this is because you're stressing the wrong things.
Kids, won't you step outside for a second?
This is specifically for people that want to improve their American accent and clarity for content, ads, on the back end for sales calls as well, so that you can sound more credible, professional, and position yourself as more of an authority so that you can make more money from your content. Oh, and in case you're wondering why the hell should you even listen to this random Dylan guy, well, I'm a foreigner just like yourself. I used to have a very strong accent and then I changed it successfully using Hollywood accent techniques. Now I help others like myself and yourself, specifically high-level business owners online, to do the same. All right, with that out of the way, let's get back to how we should be stressing things correctly. Fundamentally, we only really have 4 tools in order to stress something. We can use volume, we can use pitch, we can use speed, and we can use enunciation as well. So let's use a specific phrase to actually break this down to kind of give you a concrete example so you can hear what this sounds like. We'll use something very, very simple like, I like cats and dogs. Specifically, we are going to stress just one word in here, one that also commonly wouldn't really be stressed. So it's a bit more of a vivid example. So we'll pick the word and in here, right? So we're gonna get, I like cats and dogs, and that'll turn into, if I use volume first, I like cats and dogs. Immediately the and feels like, okay, I guess that's very important because we suddenly did something very big there, right? I could do the same for pitch. I like cats and dogs. I didn't go up a lot in volume. I just kind of shifted the pitch. Immediately sounded more important, right? Now for speed, I like cats and dogs. Also feels like, okay, something is going on here. This word might be more important than enunciation. I like cats and dogs. Also feels like, okay, why are we doing more here? So this is a really good pattern to point out. Overall, the reason why the word sounds stressed is not necessarily because I just went up in pitch or I had a very high pitch. It could be a lower pitch as well. The main thing we're trying to achieve here is contrast. Stress, I would say, is all about contrast, because if everything sounds very loud, very high-pitched, very fast or very slow, or everything's super enunciated, that's when stress doesn't really work, because if everything is sounding the same, I have to make sure that things are sounding a little bit different. So typically, kind of a really good rule of thumb to use would be that in a sentence, typically only really 1 or maybe 2 things are going to have that kind of bigger stress, and everything else is going to be, energetically speaking, on a lower wavelength. So if we look at, I like cats and dogs, right? And I really want to stress and, I want to keep, I like cats, and the dogs part, I want to keep that at a lower frequency, and then and I kind of raise that up a little bit. I like cats and dogs, right? I didn't even pause there, but if we then lean into that a little more, I like cats and dogs. So I have the baseline, I go up a little bit, and then I return back down. So that's really fundamentally what makes stress even work. I have to make sure that whatever I'm stressing, I'm doing it a little bit differently than the rest of what I'm saying, because otherwise it just blends into the rest and it doesn't really stand out. Stress by nature means we're making that word stand out. We're emphasizing it, right? So just to summarize again, right, we have 4 tools. We have volume, pitch, speed, and enunciation. You can apply all of them. You can technically apply just one of them, as long as you're making something a little bit different than what was right before and what was right after of the word. But the thing I want to add here is that in order to get really good at this, you have to actively try to practice this while, reading out loud is typically the best place to do this, because you have the words in front of you, so there's not as much that you have to focus on at the same time. You have the luxury of seeing the whole sentence. You also have the context right before, so that will typically tell you what you should be stressing, and then you want to basically just play around with, okay, well, what happens if I stress this word versus this word? And you will notice that the meaning of what you're saying is going to change slightly or maybe drastically depending on what you're saying. And this is a very important point to make. Stress is extremely context dependent. So overall, it's a very malleable thing. It's very much dictated by what was said right before. The perfect sentence to really show this is one that I didn't come up with. I stole this one, full transparency, from Alex Hormozi, because this is just such a good sentence to show how quickly and drastically the meaning can change if we stress something else. So specifically, the sentence is, he said he never hit his wife. The moment we stress something else, the meaning shifts pretty drastically. If I'm saying, he said he never hit his wife, okay, so I guess he said that, like that's really important. But then if I'm saying, he said he never hit his wife, now it's like, I mean, yeah, sure, he said it, but I don't believe him, I guess, right? Could be, he said he never hit his wife. Okay, so somebody else hit his wife. Or, right, he said he never hit his wife. So now it's all about he never ever did it, right? Or if we go into another direction, he said he never hit his wife. Now it's, I guess he did something to her, but he didn't hit her. He did something else that's probably bad, right? Or it could be, he said he never hit his wife. Now he's hitting somebody else's wife. Or he never said he hit his wife. So now he might be hitting his kids instead of his wife, right? So you can see how very, very quickly the meaning is just completely different. And the choice of what you should be stressing here is, again, very context dependent. So if somebody before said, oh yeah, I mean, who knows if he hit his wife or somebody else, and I'm like, oh yeah, he never said he hit his wife, he said he hit his kids, right? Then it makes a lot more sense in the moment to stress that as opposed to something else. So the way to get really good at this is to read out loud a lot. You should be seeking out a lot of text because you can see the words written, and it'll give you a bit more of an opportunity to make conscious choices. This could be an Instagram caption, a social media comment somewhere if you want to keep it very simple. It could be an article on the internet, a book, but you just want to get in the habit of reading something very consciously and then making very conscious choices of what to stress. And specifically, I would say if we want to really hit the title of the video on the head here, I would say within this, the top reason why people end up messing up stress specifically would be that they are stressing too many things. It's not that they're stressing not enough. Typically, people tend to over say a lot of things, then everything feels very important. So the better thing to do would be to keep everything kind of on a more chill, lower level, and then when something becomes more important, that's when you want to apply those techniques of going up in volume, pitch, slowing down speed-wise, or enunciating the word a bit more. So a little extra tip that I'll give you here is that you want to be on the lookout for these little, small helping words that don't really contribute a lot to the actual meaning of the sentence. So if you were to take notes on a sentence, for example, if you're listening, you would typically write down kind of the main meat of the sentence, like nouns, verbs, adjectives. However, if you're looking to not stress something, you want to look at those in-between words. Specifically, the kind of grammatical term for these would be function words. So those could be prepositions, pronouns, articles, where we use them a lot and they come up all the time, but they're just not very important words. Like a good example of this could be something like the article, the, right? If I'm saying, I like the cat, I'm not going to say I like the cat, unless there is a really good reason to stress that. And then even then, I probably would say it a little bit differently. I would say I like the cat. It would be an E for most people. Little side note. But again, the, not a very important word. Same for something like you, he, she. They're not really big words unless I have a really good reason to stress them. So for the most part, I should just be doing them very small and short so that I can move on to the next thing, right? So if I'm saying something like, you like my cat, I don't want to go, you like my cat, but you like my cat. You like my cat, right? So it becomes a lot smaller and shorter. And specifically, right, now we're turning things around. So if I then, conversely, I want to make something less important, I can apply those same 4 tools of volume, pitch, speed, enunciation, and basically just do the reverse of that to do less in the you in this case. So I'm not going up in volume, I'm not going up in pitch, I'm just matching the rest of what I'm saying. I'm not overly enunciating the word, and specifically here, I would be speeding up. Typically, if something's very, very small and unimportant, I will gloss over it a little bit more so that it kind of blends into the rest of the sentence more. Now, this obviously just scratches the very surface of what makes up an American accent. If your goal is to sound more American and more clear in your content, ads, on sales calls so that you can sound more professional and credible and be more of an authority, I highly recommend to invest in coaching with somebody that has actually done this before. They've actually transformed their own accent. I'm not just saying that because I'm obviously a coach, but if I had worked on my own accent without any outside help, it would have taken me significantly longer. So basically, if you're like, okay, I want to improve my accent, but I don't really care so much about the timeline, totally just, work on it at your own pace. That's totally fine. However, if you're like, I want to get results a lot faster, I have something to get done here, I want to actually make content and ads and all of that stuff, and I will make them really good, and want to get more conversion rates, right? I want to get more customers, more leads from that content, then I would highly recommend, again, to seek somebody out. If that happens to be me that you want to work with, there is a link in the description down below to apply to work with me, or you can also join my free community as well. Within the free community, I also offer free accent assessments as well, specifically for people that are the right fit. And I think I covered everything there, so that would be it for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.